gentlemen, guys, today we are going to take a look at the Magnum 16 that is from the Wheel Horse 416 that I showed you in a prior video. The plan is to take the Magnum 10 that's on my Lil Mule tractor, my 857, and swap it for this 16 horsepower Kohler motor. And overall, taking a look at the motor itself, it's actually in pretty good shape. The hour meter on the tractor showed 780 hours, or no, sorry, 880 hours, something to that effect on it. So I was figuring on seeing a lot of wear in this motor. To the contrary, it's really not in bad shape. I've stripped the head off it. I've taken the coil or the ignition module off. The air box has been taken off. But essentially, the motor is in standard form, basically. It still has the oil in it. It still has the oil pan attached. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flywheel off. And to do that, I just hit the main nut with my impact wrench. Bang, you know, just break it free, take it off. The next thing I'll do is I'll screw it back in. I'll keep it maybe about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch from seated on the flywheel. And then what I have here is just a standard old school steering wheel puller. That's all I use. You know, I'll put the steering wheel puller in the 3/8 16 bolt holes that are in the flywheel, like that. Just line them up. And I'm just going to do it real quick here. You know, just get that thing started. Put some tension on the steering wheel puller itself, and then I'll just wrap the end of the steering wheel puller with a hammer. I'm not going to come swinging into it real hard. I just, you know, hit it like that. If it doesn't pop, I'll put a little more tension on the steering wheel puller itself. I'll whack it again with the hammer, and the flywheel should pop right off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the flywheel off, and then we'll get a nice close-up overview of the entire engine. So with the flywheel off, we can get a better look at the motor in general. The flywheel came off fairly easy. Sometimes you have to kind of work at them to get them off, but this one, I had to put some tension on it a couple times and hit it a couple times with the hammer. Not very hard, but it did end up popping off. Good thing I had the bolt there for two reasons. One, that's the pressure point for the power for the steering wheel puller. So that way I'm not using the actual end of the crankshaft, I'm using the head of the bolt. And two, the reactive energy of the flywheel itself, there was a fair amount with this motor. It popped off fairly substantially. So the bolt there with the washer catches the flywheel from completely sliding off the crankshaft. So that was good. And as you can see, the end of the crankshaft's in pretty good shape. There is some rust where the flywheel isn't mated to the crankshaft, but we'll get that all cleaned up. New seal will go in there. Definitely was a mouse or two living in the motor, so we'll have to clean all that out, get all that stuff. They chewed the kill wire, so their teeth are nice and sharp, I guess. The broken bolts are located in the two lower lugs for the blower cover itself. Now, if you've ever tried to drill those bolts out, it can become a real nightmare in this soft, crappy cast aluminum from Kohler. So instead of getting involved with all of that and fighting those bolts, what I'm going to do, or what I've started doing already, is a friend of mine was nice enough to give me two 16 horsepower Kohlers. One is a K341 and this one is a Magnum 16. Both the motors had broken rods and both motors have wiped out crankshafts. So they were going to be the start of this project, but after looking around, I mean, the crankshafts for these motors, if you can find one, is, you know, anywhere between $100 and $200. So really, at the end of the day, buying a whole tractor with a motor on it was actually almost a better deal, because I get the motor and the transmission instead of, like, you know, hunting around for a crankshaft and then finding a rod and all this other stuff. So instead of doing that, I ended up just snaking the bearing plate off this motor. I'm going to sandblast it, chase all the threads, and then swap it onto this motor in itself. So that'll make my life a lot easier and make the project move faster. When I pulled the head off, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm going to get my flashlight here so we can take a look. You're going to see a little flutter from the LED bulb, but in general, it's just glazed over. There's no scores. There's nothing that I would find concerning inside the bore. The piston doesn't rock at the bottom of the bore, and it doesn't rock at the top of the bore. So like my Magnum 14 that I just built, I might be able to get away with just honing and re-ringing this, which will make life, again, a lot easier, less expensive, without a doubt. But I'm going to take the motor apart, and we'll actually mic up the bore in another video to see where we are. And worst case scenario, I do have a 3/over sized piston for this motor. I ended up getting it at Zagre, the kit. It's it's a original NOS Kohler piston. It's 3/over for a 16 horsepower motor, the 3 3/4 inch bore. Rings, the pin, the keepers, the whole 9 yards. I paid $30 for it at Zagre, and I was just perusing around, and man, those pistons, if you can find one, are pretty darn expensive. They're anywhere between like $240 to $300. So I only paid $30 for it. I don't know if I want to use it. It's kind of weird. You know, you find something like that and you're like, oh, I'm going to use it in a motor. And then you find out the value of it and you're like, well, do I really want to put it in the motor, or do I want to try to sell it? I don't know. But we're going to mic up the bore. And if need be, I'll drop the engine off to the machine shop. I'll have it bored 3 or honed out 3, straighten out the walls, and throw the piston in it. As you can see, there is a lot of buildup on the intake valve, especially where right there, you can see there's a shelf of buildup, and it's hard. It's like, it is hard. All that's got to get picked out and cleaned. I am definitely going to go with 2 new valves, without a doubt. We'll pull that apart, do a quick valve job, put 2 new valves in it, lap the poop out of them. So that way that's all sealed up. The deck is in real good shape. This being a 16 horsepower, it's a 10 bolt. Unlike the 10, 12, and the 14s, which are 9 bolts. This does have the head with the spark plug over the exhaust valve. I don't know if that's standard form for a 16 horse. If you know the answer to that, or put it in the comment below. Going to get a new starter. I'll probably get a new stator. They're both those aftermarket parts I've had nothing but good luck with. You know, I never had a problem with either one of them. So, and they're cheap enough. I mean, the starter's what, $30, $40, and the stator's like 20. They're in those kinds of positions, in my opinion, that, you know, if the starter blows on one of these motors, you got to take the dipstick tube off, and you got to basically take out. It's just easier, in my opinion, just to put a reproduction or an aftermarket starter on it. And then the stators really don't go bad. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody having a bad stator, but you basically have to field strip the front of the motor in order to get to it, in order to get it fixed. So again, it's a part. I've bought the aftermarket ones. They work. There's no need to take a chance. The motor will probably get no, not probably. It will definitely get a new rod. And the reason for that is the 16, or this Magnum 16, has the deep sump oil pan. I think most 16 horsepower motors had the deep sump oil pan. So to get it onto my 857, just like my Magnum 10, I'll have to use the thin line K-series oil pan. I'll have to use my adapter plate because it needs to fit onto the Magnum base. Not a big deal. I'll snake those parts off my Magnum 10 on the 857. I'll swap them onto this motor. The carburetor in general is in really good shape. As you can see, there's a lot of dried particulate in the bowl, but the base of the carburetor itself is not corroded. It's in perfect shape, so that's good. That just needs to be cleaned. It is one of the earlier Magnums with the adjustable carburetors instead of the fixed carburetors. The throttle shaft is totally worn out, so we'll have to take that all apart like on my Magnum 14 and rebushing the top of the carburetor. But that's a cheap fix compared to buying a new carburetor. Overall, the carburetor itself is super clean. I wish I could show you the inside of that. I tried to do it earlier in a different part of the video, and it ended up being a shaky mess like it is right now, but in general, it is really clean in there. And if I could get this thing to just stay open, which I probably can't. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. You can see, look at in the background there, you can see the valve stem and the guide. It's super clean. So I'm real happy with that. Gonna have to get a block off plate for the fuel pump because we've got the electric fuel pump on the Little Mule. I have a K-series breather system in a box out back. I'm gonna go dig that out because we're gonna get rid of this Magnum one. The Magnum one vented the crankcase gases into the air box, but we're not gonna be using the air box because I got the GT14 intake on it. So we'll just vent the crankcase gases to atmosphere. I would like to get this elbow off, but I really don't think that's going to happen. It's pretty fused into the block. I'll have a video about that a little later. But the nice thing about this, it should just pretty much swap right into the 857 because the crankshaft height will be the same. The block height is the same, the exhaust is in the same measurements, and the deck height is in the same measurements. Obviously, the bore itself is bigger. The whole casting of the upper portion of the motor is different, but the Magnum 10 tins are going to work on this motor. Everything's just going to work on the swap around. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's going to be fun to have a couple more horsepower, a lot more torque. So the next project has started. All right, guys, thank you very much for hanging in there. I hope you found this interesting. This is the beginning of this motor build. We'll be probably miking up the bore in the next video. So if you're interested into that, miking up the crankshaft, I think that's what the next video is going to be. I'll have the motor pretty much all blown apart by then. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. If you liked the video or you're interested in the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate that. And as always, everybody that has ever watched my videos, I very much appreciate all your support and your interest. All right, guys, have a good day.